pod bay doors.
Greetings and welcome to another exciting episode of The Cinematic Traveler. I am your intrepid movie exploring host, Chris, and I'm back. That's right, baby, I'm back. After a brief hiatus, I did take a week off. I am back to enrich your lives with my podcast or YouTube, whichever you're listening or watching on. And you know who else is back? The Fantastic Four. Yes, they are back in cinemas in their latest incarnation, this one being Fantastic Four First Steps, directed by Matt Shakman. Now, before we get into this episode, and I don't want to stretch things out, if you could please do all of that fun podcast or YouTuber listener stuff like subscribe to the show, follow the show, don't be invisible, and leave comments and reviews. I would appreciate that as well because it might help the show catch fire and maybe something good will happen for your favorite movie reviewer. Also, if you could share the show with your friends, family, loved ones, gigantic planet-eating monsters, or on social media, whichever of those two is worse, I would appreciate that as well. There, I got through all of that quick, fast, in a hurry, so we can get into this episode. Before we get into that, let me ask you, how are you doing, my beloved listener? I hope you're doing well out there. I am sorry that I did not have an episode last week. There just wasn't anything at the movie theater I really wanted to see, and I didn't want to half-ass an episode for you. Plus, it gave you time to miss me. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. And you have to admit, when you were checking out other movie reviewers on podcast or YouTube, you were like, man, these guys really suck. I missed a Cinematic Traveler. Well, I'm back. I'm back to throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. Now that we've gotten our witty banter out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about Fantastic Four First Steps.
Yeah, it's going to be fun on the bun.
And this is the first time the MCU, as we know it, has brought the Fantastic Four to life. And as I mentioned, it is directed by Matt Shakman, who I'm not sure if this is his first feature film. I did look up some stuff on IMDb, and most of his stuff was television work. Well, now he's been unleashed onto this big screen in the MCU universe. I think eventually we're all going to get a chance to direct an MCU movie. It doesn't take much to get qualified. At any rate, before I get into things, I do have to over-explain a couple of things. I am going to give you a spoiler-free review as well as a spoiler-free plot synopsis. Now, in that plot synopsis, I have hidden a movie quote to a film that either shares some DNA with this one or maybe runs parallel to it. If you can identify that movie that it's from, get in touch with me. You can find me on Instagram at Cinematic Traveler Pod. I have an email address, thecinemactravelerpod@gmail.com, or in the various comments stuff. I will find the answer if you leave it. I will give you a point for getting it right. At the end of the month, I add up all the points. Whoever wins gets to pick a movie for me to review next month. Oh, how exciting is that? How exciting is that? If that doesn't get you excited, I've got nothing left for you. Also, if you just listen from time to time, or this is your first time, you could go ahead and answer just to let me know you're out there. It is always wonderful to know that someone is listening or watching. I know it seems a little uncool, but that's the best time of the week to be uncool with Chris. Now that I have gotten all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into this movie. And once again, for my faithful viewers or listeners, I have not written a script out for this plot synopsis, so bear with me. We join this movie on Earth, I think 828, which has this amazing 1950s, 1960s retro sci-fi aesthetic to it, and we are introduced to our main heroes: Reed Richards, played by Pedro Pascal; Sue Storm, played by Vanessa Kirby; Ben Richards. Did I just say Ben Richards? Killian, here's Sub-Zero, now just plain Zero. You get a bonus. That's not the movie quote, but you get a bonus if you can identify that one. I meant to say Ben Grimm, played by Ebon Moss Bacharach, and of course Johnny Storm, played by Joseph Quinn. Now, as Johnny and Ben, the Thing, are preparing dinner, Reed and Sue Storm are in the other room having a quiet moment because these two are married, and got busy. It's a whole family of soups. Looks like I hit the jackpot. Oh, this is just too good. Hint, hint. That's right, I got that movie quote out of the way quick, fast, and in a hurry, as I like to say. And anyway, they found out, yes, that Sue is preggers. Now, once Ben, I'm not going to call him Ben, I'm going to call him the Thing. Once the Thing and Johnny Storm find out, yes, it's time to celebrate. However, this celebration won't last long, as a mysterious traveler from another world has made its way to this version of New York City, and this seemingly naked woman clad in silver and riding a silver surfboard lands in the middle of Times Square. Now, having been to Times Square a few times myself, this would probably be low on the list that would get people's attention, but as this is a movie, a work of fiction, everybody stops to stare at this Silver Surfer. What does this strange alien come to Earth for? Well, she is the herald for Galactus, a planet-destroying alien creature. I don't know what Galactus is. I'm sorry. I know. I should apologize to all of my comic book fans out there. I'm not a big Fantastic Four reader. Anyway, let's keep going. Well, Galactus is coming, and she has picked this planet for him to devour, so they should make ready for his appearance. Naturally, our Fantastic Four are not going to sit by idly and let this happen. No, they put together a deep space mission to go meet this Galactus, maybe have a talk with him, negotiate. And, if that falls apart, then we have to fight it out. Well, naturally, as this is a comic book movie, it's not going to end with a little sit-down conversation and Galactus goes, oh, you're right. I see your point. I really should stop my behavior. No, of course, there is an epic battle in this really cool sci-fi scene where the Silver Surfer is chasing after our heroes in their spaceship. But they return back to Earth distraught because they just had their asses handed to them by Galactus and the Silver Surfer. And the citizens of New York start to turn on the Fantastic Four because Galactus did have one thing he was willing to negotiate, and that was that if Sue Storm and Reed Richards gave Galactus their new baby, he would spare the planet. And for some reason, Reed Richards tells everybody that, so they're all pissed at him. They're like, hey, just give him the baby and we all live. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. That's another movie quote. If you want to throw that in, I'll give you a bonus for that one. I'm just throwing movie quotes everywhere. Well, now our team, who has been so loved by the citizens of Earth, are now having to battle their anger as well as prepare a way to defeat this seemingly unstoppable force in Galactus, as well as his Silver Surfer Herald, Harold the Barrel. That's a musical reference. Where was I at? Oh, yeah. So they have to find a way to stop this. So it's up to Reed and the team to put it all together. Now, can this Fantastic Four be able to turn the tide of negativity into humans so we can all work together to stop this force? Or will Galactus do us all an incredible favor and just devour this earth, ending life as we know it, sending us into the great peacefulness that is death? It cannot possibly be worse than what we're going through right now. Well, I'm not going to spoil the movie and tell you all of these things, but I will give you the best review for Fantastic Four First Steps in all of the podcaster YouTuber universe. Nay, in all of the universe. Now, as I mentioned in my all over the place plot review, I'm not a big Fantastic Four reader. I have said this on previous episodes. I'm more of a surface level comic book fan. I've read a lot of Batman, so I know much about him. But other things, maybe some Spider-Man. I've read Spider-Man and X-Men. I kind of know them pretty well. But the Fantastic Four, I just know, like I said, from very surface level of who they are and all that stuff. I've seen the other movies. I don't know that I was super excited when I heard this was being made, but then when I saw the first trailer, I really loved the look of it, and I thought, okay, this could be something different and could maybe get the MCU pointed back in the right direction. Now, I know what you're asking me. You're asking, Chris, Cinematic Traveler, what make you of this movie? Does it set the MCU back on the right path? Well, my faithful fans, my congregation of cinema lovers, I will not drag this out anymore because I can't think of any other cool terms to say. Let's go ahead and talk about the positives of Fantastic Four First Steps.
Sounds pleasant.
Now, this I actually did write out. You'd be proud of me. I actually put some effort into this episode. I am going to start off with what I mentioned in, again, my plot synopsis there. I love the retro look of this film, that 50s, 60s sci fi, how they thought it was all going to look. They really go all out in this movie with that aesthetic, even down to the costuming that people have and just the different gadgets and the way it mixed with that type of technology from that time period in real history. I just think it looks amazing. I think it was a great idea to do that. It had me hooked from the beginning with that. Like I said, when I saw the trailer, I was like, all right, this is going to be something different. This is going to be a cool take, something we haven't seen in the MCU. And I was really interested, and I think they did an excellent job with that top to bottom. The film, for the most part, looks really good in that regard. There's some wonky CGI. There's a baby, a CGI baby in this movie that is, oh, it's bad. It's really bad. But, that's where we are in this world. But there was some other cool stuff with everybody's powers, with Johnny Storm turning into the Human Torch, flame on, and he's flying through the air and leaving trails and all that. The Silver Surfer, she looked all right. I mean, what can you do? Just a person covered in silver on their surfboard. The Thing looked really good. I would say that's probably, again, I'm not a big comic fan, but he looks like he stepped out of the comic book. Galactus, again, looked like he stepped out of the comic book. But overall, I think the look of the film is good, especially that retro sci-fi aesthetic. I really loved that. I wish more movies would kind of delve into that, but it was a really good look, which led to one of my favorite parts of the movie. Is I've talked about them going out into space to meet Galactus. It leads to this really cool fight out in the cosmos, and the Silver Surfer's chasing them, and they're having to do all these things. I don't want to give it away, but I think that was probably the highlight of the film for me. That was like the best action piece in the movie. Visually, it looked incredible. Again, you got this retro sci-fi rocket ship, but you got all of these cool designs going around it, and the Silver Surfer and what she's doing to try to track him down. Yeah, I dug that whole scene. I think that's one of the, probably, like I said, I think that's the best part of the movie for me right there. It really turns into the sci-fi element as well, which I liked. We haven't gotten too much of that in the MCU, have we? Someone can correct me. There's been 30 some odd goddamn movies, so I don't know. I don't remember one being this sci-fi. Maybe the last Doctor Strange movie, I don't know. At any rate, this one really steers into the sci-fi, and I liked all that stuff. So that was a lot of fun. I also liked that the movie, when it opens, I will say the beginning of this movie really grabbed hold of my attention, and I was really into it. Probably the first, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes of the film, because this movie just puts you into this world. Again, with the aesthetic, you see what type of retro future sci-fi we got, as well as the Fantastic Four is already established. It's been 4 years since their accident that turned them into the Fantastic Four, have really become fan favorites in the city of New York, this other New York. Anyway, so, when they walk around, they're celebrated. The Thing, when he walks around, the kids are like, hey, throw that car, pick it up, and he gets to play along with them. So I really like that they're already these established heroes, but instead of just continuing on and not giving you any explanation, they have sort of this TV show about the Fantastic Four that comes a little bit after the very beginning of the movie, and it kind of catches you up with what they've been doing in those 4 years, how everything started. And it's a great way to, catch you up into the story without making it a complete origin story. You just sort of get a condensed version. I really liked how that worked. And again, I was really invested in this movie, at least for the first little bit of the film. We are going to get into the cast in a little bit, but I will say, as far as the performances in the film, they're all fine. There was nothing really bad that stood out to me. Again, we're going to get into some negatives about that in a little bit. Let's see what else. It is less than 2 hours. It comes in right under 2 hours. Again, I appreciate that in any movie that does that. So kudos, especially one of these superhero movies. It seems like more and more they keep stretching out to like 2.5 hours. Oh, I didn't need that. But anyway, I always applaud a movie that comes in under 2 hours. And finally, this one has nothing to do with the movie, but I went to the smaller movie theater up the street from me to see this movie, and I have to applaud the young lady who got my popcorn, because they had like 2 popcorn makers there, and one was kind of full, but one was cooking it, and so it was a little fresher, and she got my popcorn out of the fresh side, and it was absolutely delicious. So, chef's kiss. And I do appreciate your service. That was a Cinemark. So Cinemark, again, thank you so much. Anyway, that wraps up our positives for the film. Let's go ahead and dive into the negatives of this movie.
Uh-oh, I don't like the sound of that.
I will say, and this is probably something everyone says about these movies, the villains were kind of just generic villains. You have Galactus, who is just big space monster coming to destroy Earth. And then you have the Silver Surfer, who could have been a more interesting character, I think. And I might get some heat from, I'll probably catch a lot of heat from what I've got to say about this movie, but I think the other version they did in, what was it, the Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer, I think I enjoyed that Silver Surfer better, not because he was a man. I could give a shit whether that was a man or a woman. It didn't matter at all to me. God, just the thing people get upset about in these movies. I have no idea what's going on in this world anymore. But I think you learned more about the Silver Surfer in that movie. This one, it just kind of feels like she's there, and then you get a little bit, and then some stuff happens at the end. So I was like, I was a little disappointed in that regard. So again, that's a typical Marvel thing. It seems like you can't really get a great villain in any of these movies. Although I will say the people that didn't like the Galactus cloud in the other movie, this one you do get your full-on Galactus in here. And I didn't mention it. I should have mentioned a positive was the voice of Galactus. Ralph Ineson was perfect. I should have put this in the positive. I could kick myself, but I'm not going to go back and edit it in. But that guy's got like the best creepy voice in the history of creepy. He could rival James Earl Jones as far as creepy voices are concerned. So yeah, again, that was really cool that they put his voice in there. But at any rate, I think the villains are just okay. My next negative, and I don't know, this one could have just been the movie theater I went to. Like I said, it's a smaller one that I go to up the road from where I live. And it's a nice theater, but it's kind of older. But some of the sound quality wasn't great for me in that movie. And I don't know if that's the sound design in the movie or the theater. So again, if this is the theater's problem, then I apologize to the makers of Fantastic Four First Steps. Trust me, it's going to get a lot worse from here. But yeah, there were points where I couldn't understand, like Galactus. He would say things, I couldn't understand it. And then when they're in their spacesuits and things, they would say stuff to each other. And I was like, what? Huh? What? I know I'm an old man now and I can't barely hear, but at the same time, it was very muffled. So I was getting some Christopher Nolan vibes in there. So that was a negative for me. But again, I don't know if that's the movie or the theater. And those are some small negatives. Let's just go ahead and get to it. Let's get into it so I can piss off all the Marvel fans and everybody that loves this movie. Again, I tell this every time. I should just probably stop saying it. I don't watch reviews or listen to them before I do my review, so I'm not tainted by their terrible reviews. That's why I don't watch it, because they're awful. And then I would listen to them and it would drag my performance down. I don't want to do that. I aim for high quality on this show. I'm full of shit. But at any rate, but I do see things on social media where people post and it's getting a lot of love and I'm happy for it. But for me, I just didn't love this movie. I liked a lot of things in it, but this movie, the characters, I talked about the performances, they're fine. Nobody does a bad job in the movie, but nobody elevates either. There's no one here that has any kind of charm or charisma that makes me excited when they come back on the screen, outside of Mole Man. I forget the actor's name who plays Mole Man, but he was pretty goofy. I kind of laughed at him. But for the most part, everybody's very, I don't want to say monotone, but they're very one note, not even one note. They're just bland characters. And I get that Reed Richards should be kind of bland because he's sort of this super brain nerd geeky kind of thing, but you needed someone in this team to be the counter to that. And in the previous movies, it was always Johnny Storm because he was cocky and arrogant and he loved being a superhero. Well, this Johnny Storm, I mean, Joseph Quinn's a good actor, but he's just there. I couldn't tell you anything special about him or anything amazing or anything that made me feel like, okay, he's excited to be the superhero or he loves that part of it. Or the Thing, there was a little banter between him and Johnny Storm, but it wasn't enough to make me feel like these characters were a family. It was just bland. And Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, she's good, but she's good in everything, right? But again, none of these performances are elevated. It's just the same thing with the villains. None of those villainous performances are elevated to where I cared about them. I didn't care about Silver Surfer. I didn't care about Galactus. And ultimately, I didn't care about the Fantastic Four. And for as short as the movie is, it just really didn't feel like it had any energy. After that opening bit, that I was really, like I said, at the beginning of this movie, all of my Marvel hate, which I get accused of, but I don't hate Marvel. I love the early stuff. It's just now it's gotten really formulaic. But at any rate, I was into it. I was like, okay, this is something different. I love how they just throw me into this world. They give me a little explanation. I'm good. I'm with you all the way. And then it just kind of dies out. And there are points in this movie where I was bored out of my mind. And there were some kids sitting up in front of me and they were getting restless as well. I kept hearing them making noise and tapping things and banging on things and saying, "Mommy, mommy, and where's this?" And I was like, "Oh God, please shut up." But at any rate, I think some of that boredom comes from the performances because no one has any energy, any life. I don't know. I just didn't feel anything in this movie. And then when I walked out of the movie theater, it was like, okay, I watched it. There it is. So yeah, overall, I don't think it's a bad movie. I didn't love it. I don't even think I liked it, to be honest with you, because it never felt fun at any, well, outside of that one sequence when they were out in space. Outside of that, nothing really feels fun in this movie or exciting or get me on the edge of my seat. I wasn't invested in the family or the characters or what the villains were going to do. I was just bored. I mean, it boils down to it's your typical superhero type movie, and that's what they all are. There's our superheroes. Here comes the threat from another planet to destroy everything. We got to figure out a way to stop it, which in this one's kind of dumb, but I don't want to spoil anything. So overall, I would tell you, unless you're a diehard Marvel fan, I think if you're a Marvel fan, you're going to love this movie. Again, I think everything is fine in the movie, and I think you're going to be excited to see the Fantastic Four and this world that they're in. But for the rest of us, I mean, if you want to watch it, I would tell you to wait for streaming services, if only just to see, like I said, the look of the film. I really did enjoy that. I wish more movies would. I was kind of hoping Superman would do that. It would be so cool to see a Superman movie set in like the 50s and 60s. That would have been a lot of fun. But at any rate, I'm off on another tangent there. But for me, it just, like I said, it just didn't feel like it had a heart to it. It just felt like it was put together and there it was. So overall, yeah, I came out disappointed, and I did not have high expectations. I've stopped having high expectations for superhero movies a long time ago. And this one, it's just there. It's just the next piece to watch until they make the next movie that I really don't care about. And to be honest with you, I don't know if there are any more superhero movies coming out this year, but I probably won't watch them if they do. And I don't know, I might be at the end of my superhero stuff. Maybe Batman, if they bring a Batman movie out, even though there hasn't been a good one of those in a while. But yeah, I just think I'm bored with it. And, maybe that's not maybe, that is definitely tainting my review here. I'm just bored with them. There's nothing, even this one that brought a little bit of new, it still wasn't anything new. It wasn't anything interesting. I didn't care about anybody. There was nothing underneath of it. It's just surface level. Here it is. And maybe I'm just getting to a point where I need a movie to reach me on a different level, I guess. Or maybe it's just I've had so many of these in a row that are just so mid and average that it gets boring and tedious at a point. And maybe that's why I didn't do a movie review last week, because nothing came out where I was like, oh, I'm so excited to see that, or there was no big word of mouth for these movies for make me go watch it. So yeah, overall, Fantastic Four First Steps was a misstep for this critic. If you want to see a good Fantastic Four movie, go watch the first Incredibles movie. That's the best Fantastic Four movie. Oh, but that ripped off the Fantastic Four. Yeah, and it still did it better than the Fantastic Four movies. That's how great that film is. God, that might be one of the best superhero movies ever. Is it? Maybe I should put that on a poll on one of these stupid social medias. Let me ask you, you can leave comments. Is The Incredibles one of the best superhero movies ever made? I maintain that it's probably in the top 5, but it is definitely better than all of the Fantastic Four movies combined. So maybe get Brad Bird to work on these movies. What's he doing? I haven't heard from him in a long time. But anyway, I know I'm stretching this out. I already said that, didn't I? I'm stretching this episode out. I never want to keep you all very long, but I love talking to you, and being off a week made me excited to get back to do this, even though these movies are slowly draining the life from me. Hopefully something good will be coming out next week. I still have to do my review of the film chosen by last month's movie quote contest winner. I will say, when I was told what movie to review, I don't want to say I wasn't excited. I don't want anybody to take it the wrong way. I was excited to do the episode, but I just was trying to find a different way to review this movie that has been nominated for me to review, and I have tapped on something that will embarrass me, but hopefully I can pull it off and it'll be something different as far as reviewing this particular movie. So you'll definitely want to come back. I should have that out by the end of the month, which is this week. So I'm going to have to work on it here quickly. And then I'll be back next week for some review on some mid to average movie. You might as well just put it down as that. That'll be my review for the next movie I see. It's average. If that doesn't get you coming back for more, I don't know what will. On that note, go ahead and subscribe to the show, follow, leave comments, get in touch with me on social media. Instagram's the best way to do it, at Cinematic Traveler Pod. Also have my email address, thecinematictravelerpod@gmail.com. Play the contest, and then next month you could pick a movie for me to review. Wouldn't that be exciting? That would be the highlight of your life. So before I go, I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen or watch this show. I tell everyone I know I've got the smartest and sexiest audience in all the podcast universe, and you never fail to live up to those high expectations. Now, as you are traveling around on this blue and green ball bouncing to the cosmos, I'm going to change something here. In light of things that are going on in our world, especially here in the United States, and certain lists from certain people that may or may not be connected to certain politicians, and they had certain islands out there, I would like for you to do this for me as you are traveling around on this blue and green ball bouncing through the cosmos. How about we restore a little morality to our world? Try to do the right thing. I know we can't always do the right thing, but try to do the right thing and try to help people out. I'm not saying get involved in violent situations, but if you see something going down, pick up a phone and call the police or call somebody to help. If you see someone that needs help, help them out. Let's try to restore faith in humanity here, because right now, I'm telling you, I don't have a lot of it by what's going on and people that are in charge of at least this government, if not other ones in the world. So, again, go out and do that voodoo you do so well, but also bring some morality, some kindness, some help. Let's try to do something good for somebody out there. And I'll talk to you next time. Thanks.
All right, show's over. I'm tired.